Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another fun-filled week of Cellar Chats featuring the weekly wine flights here at Second Glass. My name is Chris. Good to see you, or good to be seen, because I don't see you. Good to be seen. This week, we are traveling back to my favorite place, Italy. We are going to bounce around the Adriatic coast, which makes so much sense for here. For those who are not exactly familiar with what the Adriatic coast means, it is the east coast of Italy, on the backside of the boot, and we are going to find ourselves in Emilia-Romagna, the wonderful food capital that it is. We're going to pop on up to Friuli-Venezia Giulia, up on the Slovenian border, and then we're going to bounce back down to Abruzzo. All of these places are pretty much... Emilia-Romagna probably a little less so, but really known for their seafood-based cuisines, at least on the coast. Warmer climates, Friuli-Venezia Giulia definitely gets cold, but a lot of seaside towns, and in the summertime, it's all about that. And you know what? We live in a seaside town, so these wines definitely work with cuisine that we find here, that we love, and that is available here at Second Glass. So, let's jump into it. We're going to start off in Emilia-Romagna with... I think one of the most delicious wines that has made a really big comeback in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, really in the last 5 years around here, which is Lambrusco. This is Lini 910, their Labrusca Rosé. These guys are so incredible. They make amazing wines. The Labrusca series, they make a Bianco, a Rosé, and a Rosso. These are just kind of like classic, easy drinking, frizzante, fairly affordable, and then they make some reserve styles, they make some traditional styles, they make some champagne method wines, but these are wines that really have been, unfortunately, Lambrusco as a category has really had a bad name due to one producer that we will not name, but you all know it. You go into the grocery store, and there is that bottom shelf, sweet, fizzy, red juice. It's awful. We all know it's awful, but at one point it was pretty delicious. At least to the consumers who bought it, who made it popular. And this one producer pretty much ruined, for many years, anybody ever considering drinking Lambrusco, which is a shame. All right, let's get this into the glass. Oh, I'm so excited. So, not only being, look at that beautiful, beautiful color, like kind of like a strawberry rose. Oh, I'm so excited about this. I can't wait. So, Lambrusco as a whole, particularly red Lambrusco, is one of my favorite wines for pizza. Now, pizza does not come from Emilia-Romagna, comes from Naples, but that's irrelevant. The wine just goes great with pizza. But it also goes great with another thing, which is cured meats, salumi plates. So, for me, I'm grabbing a glass of this, or getting this flight, obviously, and I'm starting out with a little salami plate, from the kitchen here. Wow. Gotta catch my breath. Smells incredible. Red fruits, citrus, lots of depth and richness. It's got some ripe. Oh my goodness. So, ripe fruits, kind of tart raspberry, a little bit of pomegranate, citrus peel, citrus juice, beautiful little bubbles, the right amount of freshness. I could literally drink this every day, all day, and I would never complain once. It is so, so good. And if you only remember Lambrusco from, and I'll be honest with you, the name of the producer escapes me. That's how much I've blocked out that terrible Lambrusco that you find in the stores. If I heard it, I would know it, but I can't think of it right now. Anyways, if your only experience with Lambrusco is that, you owe it to yourself and everybody else to try a Lambrusco like this from Lini 910. So good. So happy to have it on the flight. We've done these before, but I never get tired of doing these. This is kind of, we'll call it the northern, almost in the armpit of Italy, up on the Adriatic coast. But, so, so good. Man, that's excellent. Again, Lini 910's Lambrusca Rosé. can't remember exactly. So Lambrusco is not just one grape, it's a whole family of grapes. There's, I think, 15 to 25 different Lambrusco grapes. Primarily, most producers use about 3 of them. And I think this is a blend of like 1 or 2. Well, it wouldn't be a blend if there was 1, for those of us keeping count. But anyways, the wine is excellent. So good. That's all you need to know. All right. Now we are jumping from Emilia-Romagna, and we're going to go all the way up, far northeast corner, right on the Slovenian border, to Friuli-Venezia Giulia for a little Borgo di Tiglio. This is their Milleuve Bianco 2020. So Borgo di Tiglio is a winery that I really love. I think they make, arguably, I think some of the top best white wines in Italy. And I think some of the best white wines in general, regardless of country or place of origin. Nicola Manferrari, who has passed a lot of the reins down to his son, is a kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for here? I mean, he did not plan to be in wine. He wasn't interested in being wine. He had trained as like a pharmacist, which is what his family had done. He wasn't necessarily interested in that, but that's what he had trained to do. And his father had this small vineyard that was a hobby, and sadly his father passed away at a younger age than you would expect, and passed the reins on down to Nicola, and he really just, wasn't interested in doing anything. He didn't want to get rid of it. So he just kept making wine. He pretty much self-taught himself how to make great quality wine. Taught himself French so he could read French, viticulture and winemaking books, because at the time there really weren't any books on winemaking. But essentially all of the things that he found out through trial and error turned out to be what they would teach you in viticulture school. It just took a lot longer than normal. And he also wasn't really worried about selling his wine. So he had, lots of back vintages laying around for a long time until he realized that he needed to sell the wine because he needed to make money. He wasn't really concerned about it, but he had to pay for all the things that he was doing. So anyways, neither here nor there. The wines are incredible. Now, in this region, Friuli-Venezia Giulia, your primary grape variety is Friulano, which used to be called Tokai Friulano, but due to some EU regulations, there's another wine called Tokai in Hungary. They really claimed it was theirs, and rightfully so. So in this region, they had to drop Tokai from Friulano. It's now just called Friulano. The old-timers don't like to drop that name, but it is what it is. Legally, it's just called Friulano. And then you'll also find Pinot Grigio, you'll find Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, dry Riesling, because you're also just north of here is the Austrian border. So you also get a lot of, Austro-Hungarian influence. So that Riesling, Gewürztraminer doesn't necessarily make it here. And then there's a few reds, but they're really known for their whites. And the Milleuve is basically the barrels and tanks of juice that don't make the cut for Nicola's single vineyard or single variety bottlings. He does maybe 12 different wines. Some are blends, some are single variety, some are single vineyard. And then whatever doesn't make the cut for that goes into this really affordable, delicious wine that is, honestly, if I had a place, I would put this on by the glass everywhere because it's so, so good and it gives you so many things. It's mostly Friulano, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and then a little bit of dry Riesling. The nose is fresh, a little nutty. That's a classic Friulano characteristic. The palate, lots of texture, plenty of apricot fruit type richness. Not sweet by any means. There's a little bit of a floral lift. There's, you got a little bit of Riesling in there, giving some aromatics. I think this wine gives you all the things you could want in a white wine smashed into one wine. It's bright, it's fresh, it's rich, it's creamy, it's textured. Talking with my hands because, we're doing Italy, so that's how you do this. You talk with your hands. I love this wine. It's so tasty. And a great change because we're starting out with this kind of very red-fruited, poppy, fresh, fizzy wine that is just delicious to drink. Great with cured meats. We're going to this a little bit more restrained yet also complex and rich style of white wine at the same time. For me, I'm going from the salumi plate and I'm grabbing some diver scallops. That kind of rich, highly textured meat from the scallops done here by the chefs and the team in the kitchen, and then this like equally bright but also mouth-coating white wine paired with that would just crush. I'm super hungry. I had lunch, but I could eat again. Again, that is Borgo de Tiglio, their Milleuve Bianco. All right, we are jumping halfway down the coast. We're going to go from Friuli-Venezia Giulia to Abruzzo, and this is Cantina Torri, their Montepulciano di Abruzzo Reserva. So this estate they were founded in 1966, and they make something to the tune of like 35 different wines. They've got like 12 labels, which seems like a lot. Yeah? Seems like a lot of wines, a lot of projects. Starts to raise red flags. But you know what? These guys are doing it all right. They do sustainable and organic farming. They're really big on trying to make not only affordable and delicious wines, but wines that have a fairly low carbon footprint. Paying attention to all of that stuff is massively important. Whether you think it is or not, it certainly is. And then they also do a series of, and I really like this, and I'll be honest, I don't drink a lot of box wine. I just don't go through that much wine at my house. I like to open a bottle. We'll have a bottle or two. We don't have a lot of get-togethers. I have small children, so it's not like I'm having like dinner parties all the time or friends over all the time, although I wish I was. But they do a series of their wines in boxes, which I think is so awesome, and something that I think people really need to look at more as like a house wine. There are amazing box wine out there, and the more that we get producers like these guys and some of the other really great ones that I've seen out on the market making box wines and making it approachable and making people understand how good these are, the better it is. So I love that they make classic, amazing, sustainable wines in what you would expect, in bottles with great, done with clean practices, under cork, and then also like options in boxes that you can just toss in the fridge and drink over like a month-long period, and you don't have to think about it. I mean, it just makes sense. But that being said, moving on. So Montepulciano, not to be confused with the wines of Vino de Montepulciano, which is a place, and that is Sangiovese. Montepulciano di Abruzzo is the great Montepulciano of Abruzzo, so from Abruzzo. I think in the world of Italian red wine, I think Montepulciano is fairly well recognized. People know the grape. They're not intimidated by it. But it sort of gets relegated to like inexpensive, not great wines. And that just couldn't be further from the truth. It just was never treated great. So it's always good to see guys treating it really well. This is the Reserva bottling. So it's done in stainless steel, and then in concrete vats, and then in what I believe to be, it doesn't state whether it is or not, probably a little bit of new oak, but mostly neutral French barriques for 12 months, and then in bottle for 6 months. So I think it's basically almost 30 months before release. So this is, what vintage is this? 2017. So yeah, we're 5 years out of vintage. Dark, brooding, kind of like intense aromas. There is a little bit of oak spice. Blackberries, plums, definitely like a sage herbaceous character. Wow. Great tannins, a lot of grip, but not overwhelming. Kind of, again, tart cherries. A little bit of strawberry, but leaning more towards like cherry, black cherry, plum, darker fruit characteristics. That is really delicious. I've never had this wine before, by the way. It's the first time I've ever tasted it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Wow. I mean, this immediately, and I looked at the menu I do this thing. I do these videos, and I always forget to check what's on the menu, because it does change. And I'm always like, I want to pair this with something on the menu, but I can't remember what's on the menu. So I took the opportunity, actually looked at the menu today, and I was like, oh man, he's got rack of lamb on there. This wine and the rack of lamb, boom, spectacular. So here's the plan. You're all going to come in, you're going to grab the flight. You're going to grab a salami plate or a salami and cheese plate. You're going to enjoy the Lambrusco. You're going to move into a couple other things. I highly suggest the diver scallops with the white wine. Should be killer. And then you're going to round it out, the rack of lamb dish with the Montepulciano. And then you're going to write me a message and say, that was amazing. Thanks for planning my dinner. I didn't have to think at all. All right, let's do the wrap up. So, started out, again, Adriatic coast of Italy this week for the weekly flights. Again, this video is going out on Tuesday. We are live on Facebook, but the flights don't start till tomorrow because second class is closed today. Just remember that. So, coming in tomorrow and you're having some fun. Lini 910, Lambrusca Rosé, Emilia Romagna. Jumping up north, Borgo de Tiglio, their Milleuve, Bianco, up in the Friuli-Venezia Giulia. Hopping back down the coast, Cantina Torri, their, I'm going to mispronounce this, Baccan, Reserva, Montepulciano di Abruzzo. So tasty, so different, so fun. Please be safe. Hang out with your friends. Tell them you love them. Have a great week. Come and have some wine. Have some food. And I'll see y'all next week.